Salisbury Center, this is the main event of the evening. Making his way to the cage and fighting out of the red corner at Sandro Batsiashvili.
Sadiq, there's a ton I want to say about these two fighters here going into our main event, but I got to give a special shout out to that last one, man. Evan the Silverback Stevens is an animal.
Yeah,
very talented, absolutely vicious. Hats off again to Josh Francis for filling in for me. And a big congratulations to Evan Stevens, who looks better than ever, and dare I say, ready for the professional scene.
Yeah, 100. Even before he went, in my mind, I thought he already was turning pro, you know? So I was talking about how much he was prepared for, just to find out he still had another amateur bout. But yeah, like you say, every time he comes in, it looks more and more impressive. It's one of those things where it's like, all right, this guy is ready to get it done.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of two more guys who I think are definitely going pro in their near future, Sandro Batsiashvili, 5'8", 135 pounds, 22 years of age from Kaizen MMA. He's currently in Alexandria, Virginia, sporting the Georgia flag with just a whole Kaizen MMA team. You got Nima Mazhari there, Zviad Divashvili, Levan Chokli, I think, is there. It's just stacked team over there at Kaizen MMA. And look, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt. He's 2-0, but he's just doing everything right. He's working on his striking. He's working on his MMA. He's working on his Jiu-Jitsu, not just no-gi grappling. He's really doing it all.
Yeah, it's one of these things, man. As you see in the UFC, these guys from Georgia are starting to build a lot of momentum, you know. And it's one of those things where, like, when a country starts to shine, you start seeing them shining everywhere. It kind of trickles down to, like, the local pro circuits and then the amateur, you know. So I know he's riding off that confidence, too.
No, he sure is, man. And I'll tell you, at 22 years of age, he is a very excellent and well-rounded fighter. You'll see he's got Dave Chun in his corner as well as Liam Pinero. I think I saw Shafi over there as well. The whole Kaizen MMA team really shows out for their main event fighter.
And his opponent, making his way to the cage and fighting out of the blue corner, it's Diallo Braithwaite.
Diallo Braithwaite, 5'8", 135 pounds, 27 years old, fighting out of the Lab in Fredericksburg, Virginia. He's also 2-0. He's the number 3 AMI featherweight in Virginia. And Diallo is just an elite level grappler.
Yes.
Purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but ADCC competitor with significant success at that level, which, as we know, is probably the highest there is for no-gi grappling. He's had 47 wins in his grappling career. He's competed at the Copa Elite here at the Salisbury Center against very high-level guys as well. And, you know, he beat Emmanuel Thompson, who was 5-0, when Diallo was his second MMA fight.
Yes.
He really steps up to fight top competition. And you'll see in his corner, Chad LeBrun, one of the very best here, I believe a Henzo Gracie black belt out of the Lab, who is training basically anybody and everybody who trains, whether they're the U.S. government or an MMA fighter. You know, Cedric Gunnison's in that group as well.
Yeah.
He just knows how to develop talent, and Diallo Braithwaite is no different.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I know it says on paper he's a purple belt, but when it comes to no-gi, those belts kind of go out the window. And these no-gi guys are consistently improving. You know, they're changing the game. It's getting to the point now where, like, a gi grappler and a no-gi grappler is trying to have the same, like, vast differences between, like, a kickboxer and a Muay Thai guy.
Absolutely.
Like, the game is starting to change a lot. It seems like they're doing the same thing, but the game has changed so much. And Diallo, like you said, competes at the very peak of that.
Yeah, that's a great point. It really is. No-gi and gi is like Muay Thai and kickboxing. It's becoming two different sports. And, you know, I think the belt system works for no-gi and to an extent, but when you get a guy like Diallo who says he's a purple belt, and then there's somebody, you know, at your local jiu-jitsu place who's a purple belt, these are two different levels.
Yes. And like you said, in that last fight he had with Manny, it was a lot of jiu-jitsu being shown, you know. And he ran into a little bit of trouble too, but he showed the gameness. And he's just a cool, calm, collected guy. He doesn't look the part of the typical fighter, you know, but he looks the part of the typical martial artist.
That's right. He's definitely a martial artist, a mixed martial artist at that, as we throw it to Chris Fuller for the official call.
Salisbury Center, this is the main event of the evening. This bout is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds, and it is for the vacant CageZilla Bantamweight title. It is brought to you by our friends at Nutrition Corner of Manassas on Liberia Avenue, carrying a full line of supplements to help you meet your nutrition needs. And the Shop Gym, with locations in Manassas and Ashburn, the powerlifting mecca of Northern Virginia. And now, starting out, fighting out of the red corner, standing 5'9" and weighing in at 134 pounds, fighting out of Kaizen MMA with a record of 2 wins and no defeats, it's Sandro Batsiashvili. And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, standing 5'8" and weighing in at 134 pounds, fighting out of the lab with a record of 2 wins and no defeats, it's Diallo Braithwaite. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this bout is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. It is for the vacant CageZilla Bantamweight title. It is brought to you by Nutrition Corner and the Shop Gym, and your referee is Michael Dolman.
Now, on Sandro's part, I feel like the obvious tactic is going to be to fight in open space, you know. Let's see if we can make Diallo as uncomfortable as possible. And if you're Diallo, you're doing exactly this, sprinting down to the middle. Let's get in each other's faces, throw hands a little bit, and fall into the takedowns.
Man, Sandro's so relaxed.
Definitely, definitely. And even with the sprint that Diallo did, Sandro didn't really flinch. Oh, that was a very close spinning hook kick, but it got caught, and now we're on the ground where Diallo shines.
And, you know, this was one of the things I was going to talk to you about is when you go with a specialist who you know is going to try to take you down and is so dangerous, you almost want to
play conservative.
Play conservative, right?
Yeah.
Soften him up, make him think that he can take you down, and then you open up.
Yeah. I feel that spinning hook kick cost him bad, you know, because that was one of those things where he did, nice big bump. And now this is one of the things that we did see from Diallo in the past. As soon as he got on bottom, he's attacking right away. You know, it's not one of these things where you're gonna get on top of me and you get a break. As soon as you get on top of me, you got to start defending too, you know? And
it's one attack into the next. Right there, you saw he had the straight arm lock. And when Sandro brought that back, he was able to regain guard, break his posture, and now he avoided Sandro from both escaping and throwing counter strikes of his own.
Yeah. And now it's to the point now where Sandro has to pick his shots wisely, you know? As long as Diallo is cutting the corner, picking a side, you can't really open up and start attacking like that. You have to wait until he settles down in the middle, which isn't something that Diallo does, you know?
Yeah, and Sandro's got to be careful because Diallo's doing such a good job of trapping that right arm as he throws those legs up and starts working arm bars, working triangles.
And one of the differences you'll see between this fight and the previous fights before is the guy that's on the bottom is not staying parallel. He's constantly looking to get perpendicular, looking to attack your arms or attack your head.
Absolutely.
And now Sandro, if I'm Sandro here, I'm going to tell the referee, let him stand up, you know? Like, move back, stand him up. Yes, and this is very smart. This is what he needs.
That's the way to do it, right? If there's no reason to go here. Now he's felt Diallo, he's felt the danger.
Yes.
He's felt what he's capable of. He's going to be a little bit more conservative maybe, and you know, just keep the fight on the feet.
Let's keep it. Oh, that was a good right hand by Diallo, you know, and Sandro just ate it like a sandwich.
But and we were talking about ate it like a sandwich. We were talking about this earlier, though. That's how you're going to open up the takedown. Make somebody fear you're striking.
Yes. Now, I understand Sandro's very confident in striking, you know, but I don't like the approach of I'm just going to let you hit me anyways, you know, just because I'm the better striker. With these tiny gloves on, you never know what will happen, man. These guys could be a straight jiu-jitsu guy. They hit you in the right spot, and next thing you know, your equilibrium is off.
You're absolutely right. And, you know, I'll be honest, I think Diallo just kind of shocked him with how that combination was so fast and athletic.
Yes. And now we're up against the fence, and but by the time you don't realize how much time has gone into you playing his game. But as long as they're in open space and in the center like this, Sandro is very dangerous. Great level change by Diallo and a great drive right into that double leg.
And Sadiq, I'm glad you touched on it a second ago, and I wanted to expand on it a little bit because maybe the common fan, the casual fan sitting at home watching on CageZilla.com right now doesn't understand just how small those MMA gloves really are. You know, you look sitting at home looking like they're wearing boxing gloves. But can you touch on that for a little bit?
Yeah, it's almost nothing. You're basically like it's just your fist. It's just a little tiny protection layer under your fist, and people don't realize how easy it is to knock someone's equilibrium off. You don't necessarily have to be the hardest puncher, but you hit somebody right on the temple, or you hit them in the right spot on their ear, and now you don't have your feet under you, and you don't have to be the greatest of strikers to do that with these 4-ounce gloves on.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Chris, I appreciate you jumping in to bring that up because, you know, we've seen it in the past, right? We've seen it with very high-level wrestlers who've developed this knockout power. And it's not even that their striking is that technical, right? I think about a guy like Johnny Hendricks, but he was able to beat somebody at Martin Kampman's level because the fear of the takedown and that power that he could just generate.
Now, although Sandro is able to reverse position twice here, when he gets on top, it's so hard for him to get some type of offense going because he's constantly trying to protect his arms and constantly swimming back into negate triangles. And the longer we do this, the more your arm starts getting filled with blood.
Yeah.
The explosiveness you have in the striking area is not as strong anymore, you know. And like I said before, it's just one of those things where Diallo doesn't give his opponents a chance to relax.
Right. That's a great point. I was just going to bring that up, how a very active guard on the bottom. And you'll see right now, Diallo's on his side. He's shifting his hips. He's climbing up his legs, going back to the other side now. You can never settle. So you're constantly fighting back, and it's taking energy on top.
Now, one of these things we did see in the fight with Manny, Diallo was very, very tired after the first round. It was one of those things where he kind of had to dig deep to push through the rest of the fight. So are we going to see an improvement of that in this fight, or is it going to be more of the same?
Well, grappling is just so hard on that cardiovascular system,
yes.
You know, and it's you know, wrestling is what, 3 and 2-minute periods, right?
Yes.
And there's no break, and guys afterwards, some of the best athletes in the world are just completely exhausted.
Nice. And almost as if Diallo could hear me.
Yeah, he saw that.
He got off the ground, jumped up, just to show, okay, I'm actually in much better shape. And even his composure looks a lot better too. And one thing that I'll say is different between this fight and the fight with Manny is Sandro was almost forced to only grapple. He never had opportunities to land his strikes because he's constantly defending takedowns, constantly defending submissions, where in the last fight, although Manny was defending submissions, he was still punch no matter what was going on, you know? So now we're kind of more in what I do every day. I do grappling matches all the time. I do 20-minute grappling matches. So I like the fact that Diallo was able to get up and show a better body composition, you know, because that's something his opponent probably saw on film too. Like, oh, this guy gets tired, you know.
Right.
And when you get into the fight and you see, oh, that's not what's going on now, it might change a little bit.
Really good points there from Sadiq Yusuf. And I think now, you know, what I want to see from Sandro is going to be, you know, be on your, I don't want to say necessarily back foot, but don't be so heavy on that front foot. Don't worry about your kicks so much, but let your hands go.
Yes.
And make sure you start avoiding the clinch. Treat him getting close like the threat that it is.
And it's kind of, I feel like what you said before, like a guy that's so awkward, you know, you don't necessarily know where his strikes are coming from, and you're not expecting them to be able to touch you, and they keep touching you. And even if it's not a hard, crazy strike, the fact that they keep touching you is frustrating. And you don't want to just sit there and ignore their punches because you never know which one's going to take you out. Like that. And he wobbled him. Just like we were saying, you never know. The person doesn't have to be the greatest of strikers to hurt you with these tiny gloves on. And that's exactly as we said, that's what happened. It looked like he's going to try to transition to a triangle here, but he couldn't get it. But that's exactly how it goes in this game.
Man, really good power there from Sandro. And one thing I liked when he got that reversal, he kept that underhook on the right side, which was the difference between him getting his back taken.
He's about to get triangle.
Yep.
Oh, nice. And that triangle's in.
He created a little bit of space.
That triangle's in. And let's see, another mistake Diallo made in the last fight was transitioning into too many thins. So let's see if he this time he transitioned to being on top. A few times, Sandro's been able to explode out of this position. Not necessarily a great technical exploit, but just an explosion out. And now I think we have a fight, you know. It's one of those things where now, like, Sandro will see, okay, this guy's not just a jiu-jitsu guy, but he's also physically strong, you know.
Sandro's doing all the right things, though. He's trying to escape, but Diallo was just a step ahead every time.
And I can't tell how close this armbar is, but nice. Sandro's showing some good submission defenses. It's just as soon as he's out, he has to worry about the next move. Oh, back to the triangle again. Nice. And now I would like for Diallo to just settle and focus on one submission. Don't transition. Just stay there and focus on one submission.
Going to the armbar now.
He's back to the armbar. Nice. That is tight.
There's just a little.
That is tight. That is tight. That is tight.
There was just a little too much space for Sandro to move.
He
got it. He got it.
And very impressive, man. Every time Diallo gets back in here, he looks better and better, man. And it's one of those things. I know him personally, but even outside of not knowing him, watching his martial arts progression is very, very impressive. Because there's some guys out there that are just jiu-jitsu guys, and when you get them in here, they start to fold and break. He's constantly attacking you, and he's getting taken down. He's getting hit, but he never shies away from the actual fight, you know. And you like to see that, you know, especially from a guy that has his kind of character.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. And, you know, I didn't realize, you know, he was the featherweight. I thought it might have been a mistake. He won the featherweight belt, and then he dropped down to 135. And honestly, he looked better at 35.
Yeah, I think he's actually naturally a 35er. Whenever we train, I tell him all the time, like, me and you should not be in the same weight class, you know? So he's actually is a 35er. It's just one of those things where I think he's still learning the process of weight cutting, the process of all that kind of stuff, you know? And after a while, when he turns pro, he's obviously going to be fighting 35, shoot, maybe even 25. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. But I'll tell you, man, Sandro did such a good job of escaping attack after attack after attack. And, you know, it makes me talk about Emmanuel Thompson, the guy who fought Diallo last, who basically went 14 minutes of avoiding submissions.
And that shows you hats off to Emmanuel Thompson. You know, it's like he survived that barrage for 15 minutes. But it's one of those things where this guy just won't stop going for submissions. So you never get a chance to calm down to actually unleash your attacks, because Sandro was able to reverse a lot of positions, you know? It's just the position doesn't matter if you're forced on defense the whole time. Yeah, absolutely. And man, oh man, you know, both guys definitely have a career here. It's wild when you see such high-level talent compete against one another this early on. And for Diallo, now he's got 3 huge wins, 2 belts. 3 good names, you know? 3 good names under his record. And 5-minute fights. He's basically been fighting pro rules. Pro rules, exactly.
You know, and I know he's a little bit light on experience, but with how he's performing, I'm not opposed to him going pro.
Today was definitely a good pro, because this was a pro fight. His opponent was pro level too, you know? We're praising Diallo right now, but Sandro showed a lot of good techniques and good transitions in that fight, you know? But to be honest, I like you said, I wouldn't be mad with him going pro either. Maybe we do like 1 or 2 just for the cage time, you know. But when it comes to tenacity, when it comes to his offense, when it comes to just being a grinder, he's showing everything, all the right things. Yeah, and you know, again, hats off to Sandro, man. He really performed well, but Diallo is just right now on another level. We'll throw it down to Chris Fuller for the official decision.
Salisbury Center referee Michael Dolman has called a stop to the action 2 minutes and 1 second into the second round for your winner by armbar and new CageZilla Bantamweight champion, it's Diallo Braithwaite.
Very impressive performance by Diallo, man. Hats off to him.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And what a night here at CageZilla 74. Some really fantastic fights. I want to give a shout out to Josh Francis, who jumped in, allowed me to provide some cornering to my guys. Sadiq, as always, such a great time catching up with you. You know, we should probably hang out, because when we were here, we always end up talking about anything but the fight sometimes, you know? And again, what a night of fights here. The matchmaker Ryan did such a great job. And I will tell you guys, I cannot wait for the next one. Tune in on September 9th, I believe. Don't hold me to it, but I believe it's September 9th. We're going to have the next TCB, and then we'll be back here in October on the 14th for CageZilla 75. My name is Charles Stagisco. Shout out to the production team. You guys killed it as always. Scott, Kat, you guys are the best. And I will see you all soon at the next event.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. We hope you guys had a good time. Don't forget, coming up right now in our lobby, it's our official CageZilla 74 Bikini Contest featuring the international bikini team, CageZilla Cage Girls. Also, don't forget, coming up here at the Salisbury Center, powered by Monster Energy, next Saturday night.
Like and subscribe to CageZilla.